Hello and welcome to this yoga class where we will focus a little bit on hips today. Things that you might need. I always like to have a blanket or two. That way you can sit up on one if needed or place one beneath a knee if you're lowering a knee down to the mat. Just nice to have them, or a pillow or a cushion, something like that. Also today, might like to have two blocks. Anyone who's taken live yoga classes with me might have an indication of what we're doing today. Spoiler alert. Let's get started. We'll start today in Virasana Hero pose, if this is available to you. So this pose is not available for everyone. If it isn't, find yourself in any position that you would like to be in for centering, whether that's Halasana child's pose or cross-legged seated. If you'd like to give Virasana Hero pose a go, we sit with the knees together, the feet apart, and we sit the hips between the feet. This is where a block might come in handy if it's a bit too much of a stretch. Just sitting up on a block, maybe even two blocks. This can stretch the ankle, the knee, and the hip. It's a great multitasker. And for a lot of us, we feel nothing except for just in the ankles. And eventually that will loosen up over time. But it is important, since this is our centering posture, we'll be here for a few minutes, that you don't grin and bear it. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be like, feels great. Okay, girl, I'm ready. Like, none of that. Just, it has to be mild stretch at the most. Okay? So getting yourself all set up, we'll begin. And we'll start by closing the eyes and letting go of anything you're holding on to that you don't need right now. Any cares or worries, anything that you're holding on to, letting it go if it doesn't serve you. Once you've established that feeling of letting go, that freeing feeling, begin to tune inward. One of the ways we can tune inward is to listen to the sounds around you and notice them without reacting. In fact, let those sounds around you help you to relax even more. And just allow those sounds to fade into the distance like white noise. And start to begin to bring yourself into the present moment, right here, right now. Not pining for the future or longing for the past. Being right here in this moment. Feeling the floor beneath you, the temperature of the air on your skin. Just allowing yourself to just be. And taking a moment to set an intention for your practice. A quality or a virtue that you wish to cultivate on or off the mat. There's so many benefits to yoga, so just picking one of them, whether that's inner peace or inner strength, just picking one and letting that resonate within you for a few moments. From here, take 3 slow, deep breaths through the nose. Really expansive breaths. At the top of each inhale, see if you can take an extra sip of air. Feeling a gentle stretch in the lungs. And at the bottom of each exhale, squeezing out that last puff of air, making room for fresh new air to enter. Taking all the time you need to complete all 3 slow, deep breaths. When you're finished, start to make your way up to hands and knees, nice and slow. Double check that your hands are just slightly wider than shoulders width apart. And then we'll continue on all the way up and back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose. Nice and smooth, nice and slow. And with that first downward facing dog, maybe even walking it out a little bit, pedaling the feet, nice and slow though. So one heel gently lowers down towards the floor as the opposite knee bends. And then switching sides. Maybe a few rounds. Or sometimes shifting the hips from side to side feels nice. And then send the feet forward all the way to the top of your mat, landing with the feet parallel. And let the head hang. Decompressing the spine, especially through the neck, softening there, letting go of any tension that might be hiding there, releasing it. And then slowly, one vertebra at a time, rolling like a rag doll all the way up to standing. And when you arrive, bringing yourself fully and completely into Tadasana, mountain pose. So heels and toes all the way together if available. And we'll begin. I like to always do a little wardrobe adjusting. Makes me feel prepared. I don't know if it works. Here we go. Standing up nice and tall, equal weight on each foot, wide across the collarbones, fingertips reaching towards the floor. We'll begin with classical sun salutations. Bring the palms together in Anjali Mudra and continue them all the way up to Urdhva Hastasana, hands up pose. As always, if your shoulders need more space, feel free to step them apart, parallel, or even wider. Otherwise, pressing the palms together and trying to straighten through the arms as much as available without arching the back. So lower ribs in. One more inhale to lengthen here. And then the exhale, hands through heart center once again, hinging at the hips, using the glutes as we descend all the way down into Uttanasana, standing forward bend pose. Carrying on to flat back, long through the neck, palms to shins. And release. Sending the right foot back, way back. Gently lower the knee, untuck the toes, sweep the arms up for Anjaneyasana. Low lunge pose as the hips sink and melt down towards the floor. We'll head down through lunge, stepping it back to plank pose and lowering Ashtanga Pranam. Keep the hips high, sequentially lowering knees, chest, chin, arching through the back. Scoop through to the belly. Peel the chest off the floor for a baby cobra Bhujangasana, pointing the toes, using the glutes, squeezing the shoulder blades together and down. And release, pressing up and back to downward facing dog once again. But we're not here long. We'll send the right foot forward, way forward. Gently lower the back knee, untucking the toes, sweep the arms up for Anjaneyasana on the other side. Hips melting down towards the earth. And flowing those hands down. Send the back foot forward this time, meeting the other foot, heels and toes together, looking up to the horizon for flat back. And forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And release back to Tadasana, mountain pose. Other side. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, gliding forward, nice and smooth. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down this time, left foot steps back, gently lower the knee, untuck the toes, arms sweep up for low lunge pose. Heading down through lunge, back through plank, lowering knees, chest, chin. Ashtanga Pranam. Scooping through, point the toes, peel the chest for Bhujangasana. And release. Pressing it up and back to downward facing dog just for a moment before we send the left foot forward. Way forward, back knee lowers, untucking those toes, sweep the arms up, sinking, melting the hips down towards the earth. Getting down through lunge, this time back foot steps all the way forward into flat back, long neck. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And release to Tadasana, mountain pose. We'll head straight away into Sun Salutation A. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank. This time lowering chaturanga. Inhaling for cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog or child's pose. For a few deep breaths here. Shoulders away from the ears. Finding some weight into the fronts of the palms or the tops of the palms near the roots of the fingers. Allowing the heels to lower down towards the floor. That's already 4. And 5. Send the feet forward all the way to the top. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain, flowing right into the next one. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, heading back through plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Few deep breaths. Again, shoulders are away from the ears. Some weight forward into the hands. Breathing deep. Feeling that length in the backs of the legs. And send the feet forward. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain. Just one more of A. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhale, shoulders back and down. And exhale, downward facing dog. Slowing down the breathing. Feeling that length in the backs of the legs. And send the feet forward. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain. Ready for Sun Salutation B. So once again, those feet are all the way together, heels and toes. We'll start with Utkatasana. Bending the knees, sweeping the arms, drawing them back, 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 back. On the exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Preparing for Virabhadrasana 1, send the right foot forward behind the right wrist. Back heel spins down to the ground with the front knee right over the ankle. Come on up. Drawing that right hip back, back, back so the hips are square to the front. Heading down through lunge. Step it back to plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhale, up. And exhale, downward facing dog. Other side, left foot steps forward, back heel spins down, front knee over the ankle as we come on up. And heading down through lunge, stepping it back through plank, and lowering chaturanga. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Breathing deep for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Send the feet forward. Inhaling for flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Heels and toes together, bend the knees deeply, sweeping the arms for Utkatasana. And standing tall. Ready to begin our practice. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, heading back through plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhale up and exhale, downward facing dog. From here, just because we can, let's take a 3-legged down dog. Right leg sweeps to the sky, lengthening and reaching. And from here, we'll step into warrior two. So right foot steps forward, back heel spins down, windmill the arms all the way up until you're facing the long edge of your mat. Preparing now, so we're not there long, for triangle pose, Utthita Trikonasana. From warrior two, our stance is a little bit long for triangle, so we'll sort of step it in a little bit. Heel toe in. Looking for that heel to arch alignment. Arms in a T. Legs are super straight and active. Belly is scooping in as always. Arms are long. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, reaching. One more inhale to lengthen here. On the exhale, place the hand onto the shin, a little bit of weight into that bottom hand. Top arm up to the sky, thumb right above the mouth. Eventually, right hand behind the right foot or on the outside of it. Breathing deep. The gaze is either down or neutral or eventually up to that top thumb. Breathing deep. Belly scoops in with a long straight spine. Inhale all the way up. From here, preparing for Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. So for this one, you may wish to have a block to reach for approximately yay distance in front of your foot. That's the precise measurements, yay distance. It's like 6-8 inches, something like that, forward. For this one, we want to begin on the right leg. So a little tiny bend to that right leg and shift the weight completely onto that right leg. So right leg is completely straight, left leg just there for show, no weight really on it. Now, facing completely the long edge of your mat, what we do is teeter-totter. So first we don't fall backwards. Belly scooping in. So that's my little indication I was not scooping in my belly. Belly scoops in, supporting leg is strong. The back leg lifts up, only because it lifts up. Do I teeter-totter? Now I might stop right here. That might be a lot of a stretch for the supporting leg. Only go as far as that supporting leg will let you. Maybe that's fingertips all the way to the block. Maybe it's fingertips all the way to the floor. Breathing deep. Either way, try not to have too much weight on those supporting fingertips. They're just there for balance. Top arm reaching to the sky. So is that top leg. Belly still scoops in, pushing mostly into that right foot so that your supporting hip has lots of space and you're not crunching. Lengthening everywhere. From the top of the head to the tip of the top toes is lengthening. To come out, it's like you float all the way back up again, landing in your little baby warrior two. From here, we'll windmill down through lunge, back heel spins up. And now we have some options. So you can head right to child's pose from here for a little rest. Or maybe it's a downward facing dog that you'd like. Only if you're looking for extra challenge do we do a vinyasa between sides, back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale, downward facing dog. For that second side, we'll also do a three-legged down dog. Left leg sweeps to the sky. Feeling that nice stretch on the supporting leg. Stepping the left foot forward. Back heel spins down to the ground. And we windmill all the way up to kind of a warrior two-ish. Preparing for triangle pose. So this stance is too long. We'll step it in a little bit, finding that heel to arch alignment. Arms are in the T position, palms facing down, shoulders down. Inhale, reaching. Exhale, tipping. Finding the shin or eventually the floor on the outside of the leg. Breathing deep. To come out, belly scoops in, coming all the way up. And preparing for Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose on the left. So we begin transferring all the weight onto that front foot. So back leg just there for show. Not much weight on that at all. Then tipping, tipping, tipping. Nice and smooth. Maybe we stop midway. Only as far as that supporting leg will take you, because it takes a lot of flexibility to get all the way to the floor. So maybe it's a block, but it is most important to keep that supporting leg straight. We might even use a chair. That's a beautiful thing about a home practice. If a block isn't quite low enough, finding a chair is often helpful. Breathing deep. Once again, trying to not have too much weight on that bottom arm. It's just there to help the balance. Pushing into that supporting hip to come all the way up, back to our baby warrior 2. And then we'll windmill down through lunge, stepping it back to plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Couple deep breaths here. From here, step the right foot forward behind the right wrist, but not all the way to the wrist. So it's like a baby step forward. Back heel spins down, and let's come up to like a baby warrior 1, just a little tiny baby warrior 1. Straighten the front leg, bring the hands to the hips. So here we are. The heels are almost heel to heel alignment. We're preparing for Padmasana, pyramid pose, or intense side stretch pose. This is might be a bit too long of a stance, or it might be too narrow. If the hips are cheating out to the side a bit, which is totally normal, we want them drawing back, 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 back. Then arms are behind the back like so. So reverse namaskar. You can kind of wiggle about until you get them there. And if you're like, no way, Carla, is that ever going to happen today? Then just clasp onto the wrists or elbows, whatever you can find back there. Opening up through the shoulders on an inhale. Continuously drawing that front hip back or the right hip back, 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 back as you forward fold. And maybe even needing to press the palms together. Breathing deep, continuously drawing that right hip back, right hip back, right hip back. And to come out, slowly on an inhale, all the way up, releasing the hands. Back to our baby warrior 1, heading down through lunge. Maybe taking a little rest in child's pose, maybe stepping it back to down dog, only if you're looking for that extra challenge back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Ready for the other side. So left foot steps forward behind the left wrist, but not very far. Back heel spins down. We come up to a baby warrior 1. And if that's too narrow of a stance, you can always step that back foot out or the front foot out to make it wider. Straightening the front leg. We want not a super long stance like we would warrior 1, hence our baby warrior 1 prep. Then ensuring those hips are square to the front, arms in their full upright, uncomfortable position behind you, whatever that is today. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, continuously drawing that left hip back, 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 back as you forward fold. There is a tendency to banana the torso in this posture, so really lengthening, almost feel like you're cobraing, like you're trying to reach the low ribs towards your leg, not your chin. Breathing deep. Elbows draw back, 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 back. So do the shoulders. To come out. Inhale, belly scoops in, coming all the way up, releasing the arms back to our baby warrior one. Heading down through lunge, remembering your options. Stepping it back through plank if you want that extra challenge, and lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up and exhale, downward facing dog. From here, send the feet all the way to the top of your mat. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain. From here, preparing for Halasana garland pose. And to do that, we'll heel toe the heels and toes. Step the feet apart until they're about yay distance apart. I like to have my toes off the mat, but my heels on the mat. That gives me a good estimation of a distance between the 2 feet. Bring my hands together in Anjali Mudra and inhale to lengthen. On the exhale, bend the knees, but at the same time, press into the pinky toes to ensure the knees turn out, out, out. And then maybe you bend a little bit, maybe it's all the way down. Try to press the elbows into the knees to keep them outward. You can even use the glutes as well to get those knees turning out, 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 out. Breathing deep. 3, 4, and 5. Belly scoops in, and we'll inhale all the way back up to standing, and heel toe, back to Tadasana mountain pose. And we'll go again. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Once again, we'll take a 3-legged down dog. Right leg sweeps to the sky. Feeling that nice stretch in the back of the left leg. Step the right foot forward to a low lunge. So lowering that back knee down to your mat, untucking the toes. And then we will head into gecko. So from here, I like to have a block here. You don't have to. But either way, leaning into the left hand, the weight is forward, forward, forward. Popping those back toes off the floor, finding those toes with the opposite hand, if available. Drawing the foot inward. So be really cautious. This one is a doozy of a stretch. If you are a bit more flexible, then you can come up. Here's where I like the block. Switch hands and guide the foot forward even more. Hips lowering down to the earth. Breathing deep. We're not here too long. This is one of the best preparatory poses for the splits, just in case you're curious about that. That's 4 and 5. Slowly release, and you know the drill. Either back to child's pose or downward dog, or for extra challenge, back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. And other side, 3-legged, so left leg sweeps to the sky. Feeling that nice stretch in the right leg. And stepping up forward, preparing for gecko on the left. Back knee lowers down, untucking those toes, same thing again. Finding those toes, and if you need more of a stretch, lifting the torso up as the hips shift lower. For 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slowly release. And remembering your options, either to child's pose or downward dog or back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhale up. And exhale. Downward facing dog. From here, gently lowering through hands and knees and all the way to seated Padmasana staff pose. Feet are forward. And from here, we'll prepare for Janu Shirshasana, head to knee pose. It's called head to knee pose, but that's not necessarily what we're trying to do. I'll explain. So from here, first and foremost, be sure not to pull the flesh of the butt away. It's really important. You want the flesh of your backside completely square. So I like to even just sort of lift up and press back down so I know I'm nice and square and even. There's reasons anatomically why it's unhealthy and unsafe. It can lead to that upper leg strain. You can actually hurt yourself if you do that. Really important. I won't get into the hows and the whys in this video, but just be sure you're square. So all the muscles and tendons and ligaments are square. Then we'll bend the right knee and allow it to tip out to the side. So my right foot is against the inside of my left leg, just like it's like a seated tree pose. From here, inhale to lengthen. Let's get that left leg active. So let's point the toes, straighten through the leg. Belly scoops in on an inhale, on an exhale, reaching forward. Shin, ankles, heel, whatever you can reach. And if you've got the foot and you have more flexibility, lengthening through the spine, so you're trying to get the low ribs to the leg and splay the elbows outward. So eventually it is chin to shin, but our goal is ribs first, ribs down first. Breathing deep for 2, 3, 4, and 5. Come on up, and we'll just simply switch sides. So returning to Dandasana staff pose. Once again, I like to square everything up, so making sure I'm on the squish, which I know sounds crass, but at least you know exactly what I mean when I say that, right? On the squish. Left leg bends, as in tree pose, so that the sole of the foot is on the upper leg of the right side, pointing those toes. Inhale to lengthen, belly scoops in, and reaching ribs towards that right leg. And if you have the foot, starting to splay out the elbows, breathing deep. For 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Inhale to lengthen, scoop the belly in, floating all the way up, and remembering your options. Either head back to a child's pose or a downward facing dog, or for extra challenge, heading back through plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. From here, we'll take a 3-legged down dog once again. Right leg sweeps to the sky. Feeling it stretch on the left leg. Stepping it forward to a low lunge pose, lowering the back knee down to your mat. Or I like to have blankets at this point. So I send one blanket behind my back knee. We're preparing here for Hanumanasana, which is divine monkey pose. And what we do, control my blocks here. For divine monkey pose is we want to have the torso upright. So this is where the blocks come in handy. We don't want to be forward, but rather upright. And I'm going to sneak my front foot, it might go off camera, but onto a blanket that's slippery so I can slide along the floor. I don't want to slide too far, so that's where my strength comes in handy from my arms. And what I'm trying to do here is get the weight onto the back leg so that I'm feeling an equal stretch on the back of the front leg and the front of the back leg. Breathing deep. For 2, 3, 4, and 5. Belly scoops in slowly. Even if you're really flexible, go slow, 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 slow. If you're looking for extra challenge, feel free to take a vinyasa here. I prefer not to, and I really like doing a child's pose here, but you can do whatever works in your practice today. So maybe you're back through plank, lowering chaturanga, etc., etc. Just taking a few moments here to finish your vinyasa or your child's pose or your down dog. And then heading up and back, we'll all meet in downward facing dog, preparing for that second side. So starting with 3-legged down dog, the left leg sweeps, and then sending it forward for that low lunge pose on the other side, setting up your blankets. So I've got my right knee under a blanket, and then I'm going to bring one block on either side, and then lifting up tall, same thing on the second side. Try to lift up nice and tall. Like not the best time for a wardrobe adjustment, but that's okay. Here we go for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slowly, 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 making your way either to your vinyasa or your downward dog or child's pose. Just a few deep breaths. And from here, we'll head back to Dandasana staff pose, so to a seated position. Preparing for a Hanumanasana, that means shooting bow pose. So this one is awkwardly fun, is how I like to think of this one. So for now, I'm going to get rid of my blankets here. And then in Dandasana staff pose, lifting up tall on an inhale, belly scoops in. On an exhale, peace fingers catch the big toes. If you're not able to reach, bend the knees a little bit. Okay, so however you can manage to find your toes, find those toes. Then inhale, lifting the right leg up, bending the right arm, and then draw the right knee back, 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 back. Fun, right? Super good. Then we release the leg back beside the leg that didn't move. And we can release all the way to Dandasana staff pose. Other side for this awkwardly fun posture, a Hanumanasana. Once again, we inhale, lift the belly in. Exhale, peace fingers to the big toes. Inhale, legs are still straight if they are. Up. And exhale, draw the knee back, back, back. So the things we're thinking about are trying not to let the knee tip out to the side, but rather draw it back, 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 back. And then we put it back and release to Dandasana staff pose. Super fun. You can tell which poses I don't like as much as some of the other poses that I really like, but that's okay. I have a lot of respect for the shooting bow pose. Here we go. If you're looking for extra challenge, take a full vinyasa or heading back to child's pose or downward facing dog, or you could just stay in Dandasana staff pose. I'm going to find downward facing dog. It's nice to have options depending on where you're at in your practice and in your life. And then we'll lower all the way back to Dandasana staff pose. Preparing now for Agni Stambhasana fire log pose. So let's start this one cross-legged, just for fun. We're almost in fire log pose when we're cross-legged. But what we do is from cross-legged, I'm going to shift my left leg. So that's the one that's on the inside for me right now. I'll kind of get rid of my top leg or right leg. And we want the left leg so that the shin is parallel to the top edge of the mat. Then I'm going to draw my right foot, placing it on my left knee. If this is too much of a stretch and you're leaning back, go with it. Lean back, flex the feet. This is it. If you can go further, leaning forward, allow the top knee to lower down to the foot. So what we don't want is the feet inward. That's moving towards a different posture. We want them kind of away from the body so that the shin bones are like fire logs, stacked one on top of the other, not inwards, but rather outwards. And then, if that's not enough fun for you, you can always lean forward, grounding through the sit bones. Start to walk the hands forward. And sometimes, in order to be completely on the squish, sometimes you have to almost adjust once you're in it too. Just be sure you're completely on the squish. And then, leaning forward. I wanted to talk just really, really briefly about all our different options between sides and between postures. What we're trying to do is maintain our warmth. A yoga practice is about creating heat physically to prevent injury, but also energetically, we're creating heat. There's a whole philosophy behind yoga that we don't very often talk about in class, but we're building heat. And just the quick oversimplified version of it is we're burning toxicity in the body, whether that's thoughts or habits or just anything that doesn't serve us anymore. We're trying to almost like mentally, visually, metaphorically burn away anything that doesn't serve us. We're trying to build heat. Let's come on out of fire log, returning to Dandasana staff pose, and prepare for the other side. Agni Stambhasana fire log pose. We'll start in our cross-legged position, Sukhasana. Get our bottom leg first, which is the right leg, parallel to the top edge of our mat. Ankle crosses over knee. If that's too much, leaning back and hang out here. If you'd like to go further, then we've got knee over foot and foot over knee, or eventually ankle over foot, foot over knee. And maybe you want to even go further, leaning forward. So the reason then that we have options is because maybe you don't want to cool down too much by waiting in between sides. But if you're finding it's very warm, it might be you're in the middle of summer. It might be that you are a naturally warmer person, or it might be that you haven't done a lot of yoga lately, so it's just you're already warm. In which case, maintaining Dandasana staff pose is the correct choice. If you are, I'm just sort of always cold, even in August. It's funny. Anyone who knows me knows that to find me wearing a sweater in August is not unusual. So for me, I generally take vinyasas wherever possible so that I can warm up more. It's not to prove a point or pretend I'm super strong. What we're doing is simply looking to heat the body. That is it. So if you're not warm, find another vinyasa. If you're already warm, stay in Dandasana staff pose. Or if you're like, I need like a little bit more warmth, but not a lot, then downward facing dog. Ta-da! That's my big explanation of why we have so many options. Come on out to Dandasana staff pose. So here we go again. Either just hang out here if you're warm enough, or if you want that extra challenge or extra warmth, heading into a full vinyasa, or maybe it's downward facing dog. And for me right now, I'm feeling quite warm, so I'm going to just stay here. Feel free to do whatever it is that's best for you, staying for a few moments in whatever option you're into at the moment. From here, moving into Padmasana Lotus posture. So we'll all meet together back in Dandasana staff pose, just like so. This one's tricky. If you can't get fully into this one, it's fine. Nobody cares. This one is a very advanced posture, which I don't very often do in class, but I wanted to today just for fun, just to see where we're at. So for this one, let's start with the left leg, and we'll bend it in just like tree pose kind of. And the purpose of bending it all the way is to close the knee joint. So once that's bent all the way, the knee joint is closed and it's a bit protected this way. Then I'm going to pick up the foot, and with the foot and the knee at the same height. So I don't want to crank the foot above the knee. Does that make sense? Like as if I had a level here. I don't want to lift the foot higher than the knee. I want to lift the knee up as well. And then place the foot into the crease of the opposite hip joint. Okay. Now from here, I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other side. So I'll bend my right knee, closing the knee joint. Now, if this is as far as I can go, I might just scooch that foot underneath and hold here. So this is kind of like half lotus posture. If I'm not really feeling much of a stretch here, then I know I can go further. My knee joint is closed. Now I'm going to pick up the foot, keeping the knee and the foot at the same height, and place this one on top of the hip crease. And here I go. I'm in Padmasana, lotus posture. Just a few deep breaths here, or wherever you got stuck. Be sure that the knees feel 100% okay. This is why we want to close the knee joint first. We don't want any torque in the knees. To come out, we simply reverse course. So we can release that top leg and release the bottom leg and return to Dandasana staff pose. We'll do the same thing on the other side, crossing the right leg first. So bend the right leg first, pick it up, place it in the hip crease. Then we'll bend the bottom knee and maybe just tuck it under if that's where we're at today. Feeling a nice hip stretch. If you want to go further, pick it up, same level as the knee, and we cross it over, holding here, lifting up nice and tall, spine lifting up and out of the pelvis. Breathing deep. Sometimes when we first are able to get in, it's like it feels like a knot and it feels super tight. So when we first get in, it's kind of like, oh, I can get it. It's not too terrible, but you might feel a lot of stretch in the hips. And you also might feel like when I first started doing lotus posture, I felt my shin bones kind of bashing together and I would almost bruise. That goes away over time, not because your body gets used to bruising, but because your Padmasana gets looser. So the more flexible you are, the more loose your Padmasana is, and it's not so tight. So if you're barely in, don't worry about it. It will get better. It will feel better over time. To come out, reversing course. Releasing the top leg, releasing the bottom, and returning to Dandasana staff pose. Remember your options, either just stay or head into downward dog or child's pose, or if you're looking for a little vinyasa, it's been a while since I did a vinyasa, so I'm feeling a little bit cooler. We'll head back to plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Couple deep breaths. And returning to Dandasana staff pose all the way to seated. From here, preparing for Parivrita Janushirshasana, so that's revolved head to knee pose. This one's interesting. It's a bit of a side stretch. What we do is shift and squiggle our way all the way over to the left side of your yoga mat, okay? Then what my goal is, I don't know how much room I have here. So I'm like in the top left-hand quadrant of my yoga mat. Bending the right knee is in tree pose, but I want to turn all the way to the long edge of my mat. So if I don't have much flexibility, I'm going to go, that's as far as I go. And that's okay. That's okay. So from here, if you have more flexibility, you can actually turn all the way to the side so that your left leg is kind of almost in the splits and your right knee is pointing directly to the back wall. Wherever you're at, that's fine. Just hold. And then this is a bit of a side stretch from here. So inhale to lengthen. On the exhale, the left arm reaches along the left leg or even on the floor on the inside of the left leg and eventually clasping the arch, the inside arch of the left foot. And from here, we simply reach the right arm alongside the right ear. Eventually, this top arm reaches the foot as well, and we spin the heart open to the sky. Breathing deep. Opening, opening, opening. through the heart to the sky as we reach that top arm. Belly scoops in, coming all the way up. And from here, we return to Dandasana, staff pose. Ta-da! Other side. So we shift and move to the right side of the yoga mat, the upper right quadrant. Other side. So left knee moves back, and wherever your new front is, just stay there. If you've got a little bit more flexibility, try to get the left knee all the way pointing to the back wall. Then, lifting up nice and tall, the right arm reaches alongside the inside of the right leg. And then, pressing into both sit bones. You don't want to let one sit bone come up off the floor. Reaching the other arm, lengthening, breathing, and opening the heart up to the sky. This one's Parivrita Janu Shirshasana, revolved head to knee pose. Belly scoops in, coming all the way up, and return to Dandasana, staff pose. From here, we only have 3 postures left, and they're all lying down. They're very nice ones. So the first one is Halasana Plow pose. For this one, I don't have a very big space here, so I'm going to shift my hips forward onto my yoga mat so that I have room for my feet to come up and over. The other thing I like to do, I don't always do this, but if you don't have a very thick mat or you have a very bony spine, then you need a bit of a princess setup here, like I do. And that way your spine can go on a nice blankie. Here we go. Leaning all the way back. And then hips go up and over. So not too much momentum. Little bit as we go up and back for Halasana Plow pose. Also keep in mind the blanket isn't necessarily for just if you're feeling your spine too much. You can place the folded blanket beneath the shoulders and have your head off of the blanket like I do now. And it makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more accessible. It's a nice variation. Do not move the neck once you're in this position. Just maintain. Breathing deep. If you'd like to go further, heading into Karnapidasana, ear squeezing posture or ear pressure posture, bend the knees and allow them to move towards the floor on either side of your ears. You can keep your arms alongside your body or kind of back. I find it's hard to balance this way, so I like to place my hands on my feet, but traditionally we wouldn't do that. I'm doing a modification. To come out, let's head back through Halasana Plow pose. So my arms are back along my sides, and trying not to, I've got a bit of an arch going here. We're trying not to, I'm just slouching a little bit. Try to lift the hips up to the sky. But every movement is 1 millimeter at a time so we don't overstretch anything. To come out, use your arms as landing gear and just one vertebra at a time, lowering slowly, 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 slowly. And then find neutral spine for a few moments. Just hang out here. It's a really big stretch we just did. It's one of my favorites. And then heading into our last posture, Uttana Padmasana prep. For this one, you can stay here to get started. I've just run out of space, so I'm going to move back onto my mat. And for this one, Laying all the way back, arms along your sides, palms facing down. Then press into the elbows as the sternum lifts up to the sky in a nice back bend, propping up under the forearms, and then gently lower the crown of the head down to the floor. Breathing deep. So trying to lift the heart up higher and higher and higher. Use the back strength to lift the heart up to the sky. Breathing as deeply as you can for 3, 4, and 5. And release. From here, we're all ready for Shavasana. So you can stay exactly where you are if that feels okay. If your back feels weird right now, that's normal. It may be that normally Shavasana is fine for you, but after Halasana and Uttanasana or Uttanapadasana prep, you might need to bend the knees and allow the knees to tip in towards each other. Either way, heading right into Shavasana from here. And again, if your back feels just weird, like it's not hurting, but it's kind of tingling or something feels strange, that is probably just totally normal. Mine does too after that one, especially if I haven't done it for a while. So what we need to do is allow it to relax. So get yourself set up in your Shavasana. And once you're in your Shavasana, let everything relax, especially through the back. Letting everything feel heavy, heavy, heavy into the floor. And softening through the neck and the shoulders and all the way down the arms. Softening through the face. Softening around the eyes. And even the muscle between the eyes. Just letting it all go. And starting to come back. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. And gently roll your head from side to side. Then reaching your arms above head on the floor and give yourself a big stretch, feeling totally refreshed. And bending your knees. Gently roll over to the right side. And pausing there for a few moments. Give yourself that time as you come back. And slowly start to press yourself all the way up to a comfortable seated position, taking all the time you need. But when you arrive, palms facing up on the knees, inhale, sitting up tall, and exhale, softly close the eyes. Taking those final moments to thank yourself for showing up to your practice today, taking care of you, and one more little thought for someone who might need it today. And slowly open the eyes. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a really, really good rest of your day. Namaste.